over the Africa Cup of Nations. Welcome to Inside Sports. My name is Robinson Okenya. In this show, we'll be taking a look at what to expect in Group A and B of the Africa Cup of Nations. So, how many days are left? We are left with 4 days to go before the Africa Cup of Nations begin. And yes, Ivory Coast will be the host of this year's edition. And of course, they are nicknamed the Elephants, not the other elephant in the Premier League. But now, these are the hosts of this year's edition of the Africa Cup of Nations 2023, being held in 2024. I want us to begin the show by taking a look at the numbers when you talk about the biggest football tournament in Africa. Now, former Zambia goalkeeper Kennedy Mwene is the only goalkeeper to score at the Cup of Nations when he netted a penalty in a 1-1 draw against Nigeria in 2013, a match that was in the pool stages. In Zambia were defending champions but could not hold on to their crown. So we are taking a look at the numbers, and in two, remember we are going through the numbers of the Africa Cup of Nations. In two, Egypt striker Hassan Al-Shalzi holds the record for the most hat-tricks at the Cup of Nations. This after he scored two, one in 1963 and another in 1970. The only man to score two hat-tricks in the Africa Cup of Nations. Now, there are two coaches who have won Africa Cup of Nations 3 times. And that is Hassan Shehata, who won 3 in a row between 2006 and 2010 with Egypt. And the other one is Ghana's Charles Gyamfi. So, these are the men that have managed to win 3 Africa Cup of Nations on different occasions back to back. Now, aside from that, Laurent Pokou holds the record for the most goals scored in a single Cup of Nations match when he netted 5 times for the Ivory Coast in a 6-1 victory over Ethiopia in 1970. We all know it's very difficult for anybody to score even a hat-trick in the Africa Cup of Nations. Now, aside from that, 4 players have managed to score in 6 different final tournaments. Samuel Eto'o, he did it for Cameroon. Kalusha Bwaya, he did that for Zambia. Andre Ayew for Ghana, and Asamoah Gyan for Ghana. Now, what is interesting about Andre Ayew, he will still appear in this year's edition of the Africa Cup of Nations, and if he scores, he will hold the record as the player that has scored in most finals when you talk about Africa Cup of Nations. So that is the Africa Cup of Nations in numbers. Tomorrow we will continue again taking a look at the numbers when you talk about Africa Cup of Nations. Now, we want to take a look at the groups that we have in Africa Cup of Nations. Remember, today our focus is on Group A. So let's take a look at the teams in the numbers again. Of course, this will be the 34th edition of the tournament. This edition, remember, features 24 teams. The team with the most titles, that has won the most number of titles, is Egypt with 7 titles, and the teams that have been the most finals still, the Pharaohs and Ghana, they have been in 9 finals. So I want to take a look at Group A, the teams that are in Group A. Ivory Coast, the hosts, are in Group A. Nigeria, a team that has won Africa Cup of Nations 3 times, is in Group A. Equatorial Guinea also falls there, while Guinea-Bissau also falls in Group A. So let's take a look at what to expect from this Group A.